Welcome. We are continuing this series of videos on case studies of sound system alignment for concerts using Crosslight software. These videos are intended to demonstrate a workflow that can be useful to users and to illustrate the various tools for final system alignment. Please note that all preliminary system verification phases have been omitted from this discussion. The sound system featured in this case study consists of two main arrays of Bose show match. Each array has 12 SM5 modules. For the low end, we have a line of 24 show match SMS 118 subwoofers, all set up for an outdoor concert. Let's check the sampling rates for the project and the interface being used. Next, we will set the channels and levels and test that everything is working correctly. Following the preliminary settings from our previous video, let's adjust the windows to give priority to the first two, sum IR and sum TF. We need to ensure they are clearly visible. Then, in the top right corner, we will select impulse post, transfer function post, and for each of them, select compound. Regarding the organization of layers and channels, as in our previous session, we will have, on layer 1, the channels for the primary alignment, which are main left, main right, and subwoofer. On layer 2, in this case, we have the channels for the front fill alignment, main for front fill and front fill. No additional layers were necessary, as the subwoofer line does not require the optimization of specific directional packages. In Acquisition, let's set the test signal to pink noise T, a noise and reflection reduction window, VTT4, and a one-shot acquisition mode. On layer 1, we select the first channel, main left, and we are ready for the first measurement by clicking on Timed. At the end of the process, within the channel, we will find three items, the so-called channel contents, which are the original trace OG, the reduced trace, and the average of these two. As a first step, let's verify the two main systems. First, we check the two magnitudes using the OG traces. The IR shows a strong reflection in the main left measurement, represented by the red trace. However, the magnitudes are perfectly comparable. Now, let's verify the phase traces of the two main once they are synchronized. I should specify that we are positioned at the front of house. As we can see, the phase traces are comparable. The two mains, once synchronized using the automatic function optimize time, are summing correctly. To access this, right-click on the SUM IR window. As we can see, the systems are now in phase, although the effects of the strong reflections still remain. Let's visualize one of the mains and the subwoofer's measurement using the traces with noise reduction. By looking at both the phase traces and the starting points of the broadband linear IRs, it is evident that the subwoofers need to be delayed. The first alignment we will try is the ordinary one, using the phase trace. The system, according to the sum trace, represented by the solid black line, seems to sum correctly. It clearly follows the max sum trace, which is the theoretical result predicted by the software, shown as a dashed line. What appeared to be aligned using the phase trace, which looked solid in the frequency domain, actually appears out of sync in the time domain. This was also confirmed during the listening test, with low frequency behavior typical of what I call the bastard inversion, a concept my students have learned to recognize over the last 2 years. One of the tools I use for this verification is the IR filtering, directly in the Inputs tab. I use a peak filter set at 70 Hz with a narrow Q. To do this, go to the Inputs tab and select the filter. This filtering shows us, as I have explained in other videos, that aligning the phase trace seems to favor the synchronization of the subsequent envelopes of the waveforms. Another litmus test, proving that the frequency domain is misleading us, is the use of the single wavelet peaks energy function. Look at the bottom right in the SUMTF tab. In the first red field, where the cursor frequency is located, let's type in the wavelet frequency of 70 Hz. The peaks do not lie. The system is out of sync in the time domain, and you can clearly hear it during the listening test. Therefore, let's reset the 8 millisecond delay value that we found using the phase trace. Instead, we will use the energy peaks method at 70 Hz to speed up the process. Right-click on the Sum Impulse window and select Optimize Time to synchronize the peaks. Within this automatic function, I can instruct Crosslight to prioritize the alignment of the rising points of the peaks rather than their centers. This has its own logic when, as in this case, the energy contribution includes not only direct sound, but also reflected energy. And indeed, with less than 1 millisecond of delay, the subwoofers are now aligned with the mains. They were already fairly close to the PA, despite the ground slopes. By using the mouse wheel on the delay value, we can fine-tune the data for maximum cancellation. Finally, a polarity inversion is now required to restore the sum. So, it was a case of la bastarda. Therefore, although the alignment with the phase trace appeared academically good, the alignment using Crosslight's energy peaks resulted in a much better listening experience. As the sound engineers from the event said, and I quote, "I really liked the solution with the polarity inversion. The sensation was one of great definition." Let's move to Layer 2 for the front fill optimization. By right-clicking on the Sum IR window, we will select Optimize Time and Levels. This allows us to align the front fill to the main and to correctly adjust its volume level. The IR and the phase trace tell us that the front fills have an inverted polarity. By inverting their polarity, applying a low-frequency cut, and realigning them, we can restore the correct interaction between the systems. For purely educational purposes, in the third window, second-order all-pass filters with phase flipped are used. You can find these in the IIR tab. They are used to cancel the effect of certain reflections in the mid-range portion of the spectrum. Thanks for watching.